Hi guys! Welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're making a vanilla creme tart. This recipe is eggless and it can also be a vegan recipe. So let's not wait any longer and let's get started. First, we'll have to make the crust for the tart. I'm using vanilla wafer cookies, but you can use any kind of butter cookie. We'll process the cookies in a food processor until it turns into fine crumbs. I'm using a fairly small food processor, so I have to do it by half. But if you have a bigger food processor, you could probably dump it all in there and start processing in one batch. It won't take long for your cookies to be finely crushed. After that, you're just going to transfer it to a bowl and we'll add in our melted butter and make a crust out of it. When you have all your crumbs, you're going to start adding in your butter, but when you add in the butter, I recommend that you add only half at a time to see how it is because sometimes the crumb's going to get soggy by adding too much butter. Because all cookies are different, so I would say test the water first, and then if you think it's too dry, then add in the remaining butter. Mix in your butter and your crumb very thoroughly, and I say when the texture get around like wet sand, then that's the perfect texture. When you can just mold it in your hand, but you can easily break it apart too, then that's a good texture for a crust. Now that your cookie and butter mixture is ready, you can pour it into a tart pan or a pie dish. I'm using a 9-inch tart pan here, so you can imagine that the crust is going to be a little bit thinner. If you're using a smaller tart pan, then it's going to be thicker. And what you want to do is just use your hands or your spatula. I recommend using your hand by just pressing it in and just make sure that every crack and crevice is being filled in and covered. Once you have finished forming your crust, you have two options. One is to let it sit in the fridge or the freezer for about 15 minutes to let it set. Another would be to bake it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 5 minutes. This will just help the crust get a little bit more golden and well set and crispier. I choose to let it sit in the fridge because I just got lazy and I don't want to bake it. So I'm just gonna let it sit for a while in the fridge until it's set and I'll go make the filling. To make your vanilla custard filling, you would need to start with, in a small saucepan over medium-low heat, add in your milk, your sugar, and your cornstarch. The cornstarch is the thickening ingredient because we're not using any egg, and you can even substitute the milk into a non-dairy milk to make it a vegan recipe, and that's alright because this recipe we're not going to be using any eggs, so all the ingredients you can substitute with vegan ingredients. After you add in the cornstarch, you want to whisk it continuously so it doesn't clump up or cooked unevenly. And you also want to cook it over low heat so it doesn't burn. After the custard is done cooking, transfer it to another bowl and add in your vanilla extract. Let it cool to room temperature before putting it in the fridge, and then you can go make your whipped cream. You want to whip the cream until it becomes a stiff peak and then add it back into the custard filling. This will help the filling become more creamy and lighter in texture. If you want to use a vegan substitute, you can use either coconut cream or a non-dairy whipping cream. Either way, it works great for this recipe. And when your whipped cream is ready, you can add it to your custard filling. Make sure that your vanilla custard has been chilled out in the fridge completely before doing so. This so far has been a no-bake recipe. We have been chilling the crust inside the fridge for about 30 minutes and it's ready to be used. Now that the custard is ready, we can start assembling. What you want to do is pour the vanilla custard into your tart shell. What I find the most simple is to just pour it into the middle and use your spatula and go in a circular motion to spread out evenly throughout the tart. Keep in mind that it does not need to look neat. If anything, we can always tell people that this is the rustic way of doing things. This is a very spreadable custard, so as long as you keep it inside of the tart, it will do its thing. And when you try to spread it out, it will go your way, and it's actually very easy to do so. And I find this process very relaxing. It's like you're moving around the sand in your Zen garden. So I could really keep doing this forever, but we do have to move on to the decorating, so just make it as pliable as you can. Now it is time to decorate. I'll be using strawberries, raspberry, blueberry, and an unsweetened coconut flake. I will line them up symmetrically by placing down the strawberries and the raspberry first, and then using the little blueberry to fill in the little gaps. And then at the end of all this, I will sprinkle on top the unsweetened coconut flake. This design was actually inspired by Pinterest, lining up fruits and little cookies in a symmetrical way in an attempt to make it look nice and appetizing. It's a very creative way of decorating, but of course you can use whatever kind of way that you want to and any kind of fruits that you like. This is a very homemade recipe, so you can go ahead and be creative. When we're done lining up the fruits and the berries, we're just gonna grab a whole handful of coconut flakes and sprinkle on top like snow. I even go along the border of the other side of the tart and sprinkle it just right along the side to make it look extra special. That's just a little touch that I want to do. You can do it however way you want to, or not even use the coconut at all. Everything is up to you. Like I said, this recipe is very homemade, so get creative with it. And we have completed our vanilla creme tart. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like my channel, please don't forget to subscribe below, leave a like, and ring the bell for notification. Thank you so much.